everyone, I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Mom.
And this is Millennial Mom, and welcome back to our channel to review/recap what is called Married at First Sight, Season 12, Episode 7, How Do You Know If You're in Love? And just with each and every single episode, I have decided to not be drained anymore by some of the couples on here because I'm tired of this every Wednesday.
To be drained?
Yes.
I agree.
It's just all of them, but you know, we are going to get to the ones in specific. But the first people we're going to start off with is Haley and Jacob because they are finally leaving Vegas, all the couples. But since Haley and Jacob had that little rift, or maybe he might call, or maybe she might call, a misunderstanding, because that night, or a few nights ago, she went to have a drink with some of the girls. Now, last week, Jacob said that she didn't say anything, that she just left the room. But she's saying she let him know through the text, but then he pulled up on her and was accusing her of having a boyfriend back home. And she was like, well, this is news to me because last time I checked, I was single like a Pringle.
You know, just the whole thing was a misunderstanding. But you know what? Whatever. Because it was just rolled over till when they came back to Atlanta. So in the airport, turns out that, did Jacob take an earlier flight because he wasn't on the plane?
No, I think what she said was she just had a spot on the flight that was a few rows like in front of him.
Oh, well, someone took a different flight. I thought maybe they rode together.
No, that was Chris, but you know, we'll get on that a little bit later. But I thought it was really interesting when they got back to the house and, you know, they're already starting the conversation because everyone is having their same apartment. No apartment hunting with each other. Already done for them.
Yeah.
So Jacob came in there kind of turned up already. It was like, you know, I already see that this isn't gonna work out because since you're not feeling me, since you're not liking me, I'm already gonna assume that you have someone back home. And she was like, well, how are you gonna assume that? I'm just not attracted to you right now because how you did me a few days ago. That don't mean anything.
First of all, Jacob never turned back down, right? He was always turned up. He was always on level 1,000 because of what happened on the honeymoon. They didn't sit together on the flight. So did you think it was going to turn the dial down in the apartment? No. But still, I just thought that whole conversation was, again, a misunderstanding and a little bit redundant because then we see, because Pastor Calvin said everybody.
Well, you forgot my favorite part. He said he's not here for Haley and her BS reality because he has his own reality.
Yeah, he said that.
But then, you know, I guess the next day he did decide to apologize because he saw the light. And even though he did see the light and Haley was like, you know, I'm going to forgive him with that smile that she always does that I thought I was seeing a twinkle in, but Mom corrected me, was like, no, she's just trying to be friendly. So also within this episode, this is where we go to see the other couple's house. So, I mean, we already knew what to expect going to Jacob's house.
We did
everything.
But we didn't see the outside. That's what I want to see. Even if it was dark,
I
still want to see
the beach.
Me too.
But we saw that. We saw the members only jacket. I instantly thought of Mom because I'm like, that was the only time I ever heard of it. Didn't even seen it.
I had a black one.
Well, he has a white one. You can match with him.
No, I can't because I don't have it no more.
And Haley's like, nice. Oh, neon? Okay.
But I thought Jacob's little room off to the side was cool. It had the neon lights and everything.
Of course you did.
It was cool. It wasn't just, it just gave me a vibe in general, not just 80s vibe. But one thing in Jacob's house, like, you know, they say you can see how the people live. I mean, it was the bachelor pad. I mean, it was a little messy. There was no real decor. It was exactly as described.
How do you feel about Haley's house?
Haley's townhouse, I thought, suited her. You know, it was level. It was, you know, she had her stuff here. She had this there.
Everything's very particular.
Very particular. But one thing I also noticed with all the ladies, they all have dogs. Did you notice that?
I did notice that because Jacob's dog and Haley's dog was beefing.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how this is going to work out. She was like, Sophia's mine. And, you know, if this ain't working out with Sophia, it's not working out, period. I'm like, she's just trying to find an exit.
Right.
So go on to what happened with Pastor Cal, because I think you thought that was the most important with Jacob and Haley.
Yeah, I thought it was the most important with all the couples, to be honest, because them moving in together and settling on each other's stuff wasn't really about the couples. Mm-hmm. We needed to see an expert come talk to them to see how things were really going and progressing, personally. But when Pastor Cal got there, of course, he asked all the couples about, you know, the hard questions, like, what's the root of any issues that you're having? Have you resolved them and stuff like that? And again, the honeymoon came up and they kept going back and forth about that. But Haley was like, well, you know, I didn't have this connect with him. And I tried to see it, but with him calling me out and calling me different things like anxiety, stuff like that, that just pushed me way back. But I'm thinking, he just said that to you yesterday. So when did you have the disconnect? Because the disconnect was actually on the honeymoon. So I think she told a little bit of a white lie right there. No pun intended. Yes.
Well, that's interesting. I thought it was most interesting with the part when she was like, you know, I haven't really got to express what I was feeling because I don't want to hurt his feelings. I was like, sis, read him, please, because he needs it with that neon and the steak and eggs and everything. But he said, you know, pretty much everything's going good. He wants to be more intimate with her. He wants to take it day by day because he knows that she's a little bit standoffish, but he's willing to try. She said that she's willing to try. So Pastor Cal was like, well, let's give it a try. Well, let's move on to Ryan and Claire. There wasn't really much going on with Ryan and Claire at this episode. But what really happened is we got to saw his place and her place. His place, I was kind of surprised. I wasn't surprised that it was boring and bland. That I wasn't surprised about. But he tried to make it seem like he's so this, he's so that, he's so clean, he's so organized. I mean, it was organized to his standard, but to the textbook of what clean and organized is, Miss Claire had that.
You starting to sound like my daughter for real. I was like, you know what, Ryan? Now, I was behind you with the organized, meticulous, like things a certain way. Yes, on the surface, it was like, it looked orderly.
It was just put up.
But when you open them cabinets and stuff, and you still rocking with the slanted stuff and and the cereal, the sugar cereal, I'm like, wait a minute, for someone to be working out.
Hey, you have your cheat days too. I guess so. You know, even though I go to bed at 10:30 sharp, I still have my sweets.
True. And then when we get to Claire's, I mean, she had all her stuff organized, folded in a certain way. I'm like, girl, I've never seen stuff folded like that. I'm going to have to try it.
Right.
But I was surprised because she's the one that came off messy. But going back to Ryan saying he went to bed at 10:30 sharp, I'm like, which one is it? Is it 10 or is it 10:30? Because if it's 10, it's sharp.
10 Monday through Friday, 10:30 on the weekends.
And Claire was like, oh, really? But see, then there was a shady cameraman move when she had her leg on his leg and they zoomed in on her foot. I'm like, now,
you know we have that.
She just came off the honeymoon. Maybe she, you know, her feet were dry. I don't know.
Well, later on, Pastor Cal, of course, meets with them, and they had a really nice conversation. One of the things that Pastor Cal picks up on, which pretty much we all did, was Claire wants that intimacy. She don't want to hug. She don't want to touch. She wants that full-on boom, boom. And she's like, it's just moving a little bit slower than how I like. And Pastor Cal was like, I know what you mean. I was like, okay, Pastor Cal.
But you know what? It's okay, I guess, to ask them, you know, if they're having relations. But I mean, just come out like, did you consummate the marriage? I just never liked that question because, again, they're still strangers and they may not be comfortable saying that on camera right now. But if you go back to the honeymoon yet again, Clara's like, well, you know, Ryan doesn't want me talking about it on TV. So maybe they have and she don't want to say, you know?
No, they haven't at all because Ryan said he likes to take his time into things. He doesn't want to jump into things, especially with that L word. Excuse me. And Pastor Cal was like, okay, I understand you haven't said the L word before, but it's more than just saying it. It's how you treat people. What do you say? A conscious intellect?
Yeah, when you know that you're going to take care of someone, to take care of their needs, their wants and everything, that's where the love comes in, that you're going to be responsible for someone else's feelings as well.
Yeah, so I think he tried to play some mind games on it to make Ryan think, well, maybe you're starting to fall in love because you have a commitment to her.
Maybe.
He'll get there. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and fast forward to Eric and Virginia, and someone said, we should have a drink, child. Even when they went to that new apartment, she was like, "Oh, look, a place for wine glasses." I was like, "Girl, you just don't take a break." And Eric was looking at her like, "Yeah, a place." Like we had enough of that on the vacation.
Exactly. But you know what? Her apartment came across exactly what I thought it would come across, minus the cake. Girly, with pictures everywhere. Not messy, but just real feminine. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, it looks like the hangout spot.
It is. According to what we find out a little bit later.
Right. But then we go to Eric's spot. I'm like, you know what? Eric, I'm moving with you. That was bomb. I thought it was nice. I liked the little fireplace, how it changed colors and all this other stuff. And Virginia was looking around like,
Yeah, this was the first time that I could actually for real see the personalities in someone else's home just based on how they are. And I thought it was kind of like, girl, really? When Virginia was like, I have 2 dogs and a cat, and Eric was like, well, I'm allergic to cats. I sneeze a little bit, got a little sore throat, a little itchy.
you got a little...
And she was like, well, you'll just take some allergy meds and you'll be all right. Because that cat is part of my life, so you have to adjust. I'm like, she don't want to compromise on anything.
She doesn't want to compromise on a thing. And again, before you say it, I think she's longing for the family thing, but she's not mentally ready to give up the party girl image that her friends, her guy friends, her girlfriends, her sorority is still into. She's not ready. And Eric doesn't seem like he wants to compromise. And we keep going back to this. So I don't see any real growth with this either. So were you going to lead in with Pastor Cal?
No, I was going to say I long to go on a vacation, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get it. And she is not ready for marriage, period. Which, yes, leads on to Pastor Cal because...
Hold on. But before Pastor Cal comes over, what happened? She poured that wine.
Of course it was. That's her time. That's what she does. So, Pastor Cal just wants to know, of course, in general, how's everything going? But something that causes a rift with Virginia is Eric wanting to know if she makes it somewhere or telling her to be careful when she leaves. I'm like, have you been hurt that much? Or maybe no one has ever done that for you where you're like, that's not cool, that's uncomfortable. Like, you're in a whole marriage. What do you think is going to happen?
But what she said was, oh my gosh, I haven't had to do that since I was like 16 or whatever. Eric was like, I think maybe she thinks this is like a boyfriend-girlfriend kind of thing. Now, see, Eric said that before Cal actually mentioned it too. And Virginia was sitting there like, how could he say that? Like, that's not true. But honestly, that's exactly how that comes across.
Right. And then she brings up, well, there's another issue with my guy friends. And, I like to hang out with my guy friends because we've been friends for years. They're like my gay best friends. And Pastor Cal was like, well, are they gay? She was like, no. And he was like, I would have a problem with that too. She was like, well, I feel comfortable with them just crashing on their couch, late at night. And he was like, when you were single, right? And she was like, yeah. So I don't know what is going through Virginia's mind. I want somebody to tell me because... she's married. Like, what does she think married life is going to be like? Like, does she think that she's going to have all this time to be alone and just do her thing? Even Eric was like, yeah, you can have your space because, I'm going to be gone a few days. But, like, when I come back, it should be me and you time, not you kicking it because it's now Friday, Saturday, and that's your time to hang out with your people. Like, that's not... how this works.
That's true. And then Eric too was explaining to Pastor Cal once again, like we knew earlier, I'm in a different stage of my life and so is she. Like, I don't look at age as a number. However, where she's at, I've been there, done that, and I'm trying to understand, but I don't know how much he could bend to understand.
I don't think he's trying to understand because he's been there through that. I think he's trying to be a quote unquote dad to her, and That's what's throwing her off, in my opinion.
He's not trying to be a quote unquote dad to her. I think she's taking it as a quote unquote dad, because that's exactly what I wrote down. I'm like, oh, so she's seeing him as like a father figure because she feels like she's got to check in.
Well, how about this? I'll give you an option, Mom. Do you want to talk about Brianna and Vincent or Christopher and Paige?
Boy, it's a toss-up this episode seemed like, but let's go ahead and start off with Chris and Paige.
Okay, Christopher and Paige. So, to my surprise, and pretty sure to most people's surprise, she's moving in alone. Now, I didn't think this was going to happen this quickly. I thought he was going to come to the house, move in with her, at least stay for a day and a half or whatever. But he took the next thing smoking to Chicago. You know, realize he's married and come to his senses and all that stuff. I'm gonna give him a few days. I was like, you're gonna give him a few days? He needs to give you a few days, if anything. But not in Chicago, because everyone already knows. And she does too. She tries to play like she doesn't know. But this episode, when she was talking to Pastor Cal, she knows what he's doing in Chicago.
She does know what he's doing in Chicago. You know, if she's willing to accept this and willing to, as she says, play her role, play her part, then let her play her role, play her part, because there's no salvaging this, in my opinion. But she has been, like I've said before, and we've all noticed, well, most of us, well, me and you, put it like that she's here for the process, and she wants to take the steps for that process. But she knows that Chris, just based off everything he said from the wedding on down, he's not, but she's still somehow trying to hold on because she feels it's ordained by God.
Well, the next thing we see, because of course we can't see anything else about her moving in process or her home or whatever, we see that, or at least hear that, Chris is coming back to Paige just to have a talk with Paige. We didn't really get to hear too much what the talk was about because, of course, Chris wanted the mic cut off. But before the mic was cut off, he was like, you know, I don't want to waste no one's time. I don't want to waste my time or your time. I was like, time has already been wasted or whatever. But then we get to the phone call. Now, I thought that phone call was the baby mama. Apparently, it was Paige. And she was going off. She was going off. She was crying. F him, F that, F this speed. Like, he thinks he's going to disrespect me like this. Not today. He wants to get a divorce. Bye. Bye then. We're going to see Pastor Cal. All right, I'm going to air him out. I was like, well, air him out then. I was ready for it.
Well, you know, I was waiting on the air it out too.
Sorry. I really thought, I don't know why I thought. I'm just like, hey.
But I mean, she started off good.
You forgot the most important part. When Pastor Cal came in, he came in just like, so tell me, what has been going on? Like, you haven't been debriefed already. You know what's going on.
That wasn't the most important part
because
to me.
It was his face. He was like so like surprised. But when she got to the part after about the wedding and how she felt like he didn't really want her, but you know what? She still was intimate with him because that was her wifely duty. She would feel bad. She didn't want her husband to be mad. And
I mean, that's
like,
what she said.
Okay, so what happened after that? Then on the honeymoon, we find out that his ex is 6 weeks pregnant. Pastor Cal was like, I was like, yes, where were you?
Anyways, Pastor Cal knew like the rest of us. This wasn't it.
But
the math didn't add up. And you know what? I don't even want to have to go and drag out every single little thing.
I have to
I'm
add
on
that
my
part.
rant.
I have to add that part because she said she is fine with him having a baby because she's not new to this. She's true to this. I was like, okay.
And, you know, we see Chris. He happens to come in the house. Now, here's my thing.
He just sashayed in. Like he didn't know what time they was coming in.
That wasn't the neutral house. That looked like they was Paige's house. And I'm thinking, why does he know where you live?
That wasn't Paige's house. That was the neutral house.
I don't care where it was. The point is he just came in. He sat down. He's like, oh, how you doing? How you doing? You know, he was being polite to Pastor Cal. And so he did say that, you know, I've always been 100 and I've never lied to her. You know, I don't think that we should be together and file for divorce, and my ex is a good person too, whatever.
Pastor Cal was so outdone and so through with Chris. after he was like, I still want a divorce because I'm still in love with my ex. And she was like, if this is what he wants to do, then.
But I just want to know, like, when Pastor Cal left, before he left, was like, do what you need to do the right thing. He left. I just want to know why Chris didn't leave. But Chris and Paige left. He's like, oh, do you have my luggage? She was like, it's in the car.
No,
in the car.
I was like, huh?
The car?
Luggage? Why do you even have his luggage? I thought he took everything with him to Chi-Town, Chicago. So they walk out to the car. He gets the luggage. They're just standing there cheesing or whatever. But he took that luggage and peaced out. And she still had the audacity to say she is confused and don't know what to do.
Yep. So, whatever, girl. There's you. So, last but not least is Brianna and Vincent. And you know what? I still think, for now, they're on cloud 9. Do you think so? Because, when they came in the neutral apartment, they're like, oh, this is nice, this and that. But Brianna did start with, don't forget to take your shoes off. And I was like, but Brianna, don't start right now.
Do you want my honest opinion?
Yes.
I think Brianna is still on cloud 9. Vincent likes her, but he's not on cloud 9. He's just saying nice words.
Oh,
that's how I feel about that.
Now that is interesting. So, when they get in, I didn't see that at first. I saw that really as their scenes went along. So then we have Brianna and Vincent at her house. And I thought her house was nice. It was exactly what I expected to be. I don't know, with the finer, nicer things. That's what it looked like.
Everything was nice. She had a million shoes. Vincent was like, girl, you trying to donate something? She was like, you're joking, right? He was like, yeah, I'm joking. So it was that. And then we go to Vincent's house, and his house looked okay. But what I thought was funny, though, I forgot this part. At Brianna's house, her TV was leaning to the front. I was like, that's how my TV looks.
I know. I thought that too. I was like, that's your TV.
I tried to put it together, but Vincent, I guess he knows how to put TVs together. And his house looked nice enough. It wasn't like anything too drastic. It definitely looked like him for the most part. But then we get to the scene with Pastor Cal and them two. And once again, they're saying the nice stuff that they always say about each other. He was like, I feel like you guys found the perfect one for me. She's just so great. She's like so kind and all this stuff. And Brianna was like, yeah, I think he's so lovely. He's so sweet to me and all this other stuff. And Vincent was like, Brianna, I just want to do well for you, just give you everything you want. And Pastor Cal was like, that's so sweet.
Right. Did he catch a tear in his eye?
But what's the issues? And then this is when Vincent was like, she kind of disrespects me. And she was like, how? Like, how do I disrespect you? And he was like, it's all about the tone of how you say things. Like, there's no issue with what you're saying, even though I kind of think so a little bit. It's just like the tone and how you say things. And she was like, I'm not trying to come off rude. I'm just a little bit more assertive. And Vincent was like, yeah, I kind of beat around the bush about things. So I think the communication part is where we're having the issues at.
You know what? I think when he said that, I was like, here we go. It was another uh-oh.
For who? For Brianna or Vincent? I always call him Brianna.
For Vincent, because I'm like, if you know Brianna's assertive, the things that she says is already sarcastic. So that means you already don't like the things that she's saying. And so anything that she's saying, you're already going to be on a defense. You know what I'm saying? So.
And he said he doesn't want to do that because he doesn't want to blow up and yell and all the other stuff. And Pastor Cal was like, that's probably going to happen because that's what you're used to.
And nobody's perfect.
And Brianna, you just have to know where his heart is. I'm like, to a point. Because then we get to a little bit later in the episode. They're celebrating. He popped open the bubbly. And it bubbled everywhere and it spilled on the floor.
But first, when she cleaned it up off the floor, didn't it look like it was a shirt at first? I'm like, is that a t-shirt or a towel?
I'm sure it was a towel, knowing Brianna. It was not no t-shirt.
It looked like one of Vince's t-shirts. That's what I thought it was at
Don't
first.
say that. If you see this, he might get mad. Because when it spilled on the floor, Brianna was kind of like joking with him. Like, oh, only you would do that thing. But she said it. she said it kind of in a babyish voice, because I think in the back of her mind, like, maybe he thought that he would kind of take it a little bit too personal. So she was trying to say, like, you know, jokey. Like, she didn't really mean it, but she said it extra babyish so he could take it as a
But
joke.
again, yeah, she said like that, but when he was like, oh, it's on my shirt too, she's like, oh, it's only of anything to do. Once again, with that conversation with Pastor Cal, just like I said, he's already on the defense of anything that you say because he feels that you're assertive, meaning sarcastic, and he don't like that. And I think that's maybe something he may have heard or had to go through in his childhood, because remember he said, like, you know, things happened and his parents weren't there and he had to grow up a certain way. So I think maybe he was
Definitely.
maybe talked to like that, which is triggering for him.
Definitely. It definitely seemed triggering to him, because we can see that his energy went down. So did Brianna. And Mom was like, as soon as they went into the bathroom, she already know.
You should already know with Vincent, when the door closes, it's on. He got a problem with you.
So he lets her know, like, you know, I feel like you disrespected me with the comments you made. So they come out the bathroom. She brings it up again to do it on camera. He still says the same thing, but the way he was saying it, he was like, you know, well, what did you mean that it's so Vinny of me? Is Vinny not smart? Is Vinny not intelligent? I'm like, Vinny, come back down, please, because he was starting to sound kind of like a child. So that was definitely some trauma coming back, whether it been from childhood, from his ex, something.
Whoever,
because
he took
I
it
was
personal.
Like, it's not that deep. I promise you, she was just joking.
And you know what? He said he don't have to be disrespected by this. He gets his backpack and he's out. And Brianna's like, you know, I don't know where he's going. I mean, he said he was going home. So clearly he's going home.
Oh, he meant that. He's going home. He's not walking around the park or nothing. And if we see next week that he did take a stroll, I would be surprised. So that was pretty much the whole entire episode. We didn't want to dive in too much deep into Chris because, Lord, Chris, next week, we got you. With the ex, I gotta hang up the phone. Like, that's just too much. It's too much. I don't know why Paige wants to keep doing this. Like, if she wants to be a sister wife, just say that then and keep it pushing, because it's too much. What did you think about this episode, Mom?
Well, this episode was slightly boring to me because the moving in and stuff like that. It's kind of like a filler episode. But with the Pastor Cal, I think it should just been like a whole expert kind of thing. We didn't necessarily have to see them moving in. That could have been like a really short clip. But outside of that, oh yeah, like next week, I mean, it's on. It just is. And this is truly a MAFS first.
It is. So thank you all so much for watching our review. Please let us know what you guys thought about this in the comments down below. And also don't forget to like our video and also subscribe to our channel for more Married at First Sight reviews and other shows and other things coming soon as well.
Thank you all again for watching. And as always, live simply, be grateful.